Hey there, it's Tyler with AIWritingSchool.com, and in this video, I'm going to show you how to write a fiction book using Claude AI. Now, this will work for ChatGPT or any other AI tool you're using, but I really do prefer Claude for this, and I'll show you why in this video. We'll also take this in a very practical way. I'm going to show you exactly how I go about writing long-form content, whether it's an ebook or a fiction book in this example today. I'm going to show you how to not waste time, how to organize your thoughts, and make sure that Claude writes in a way that actually sounds human and is enjoyable to read. Let's jump into it. All right, so we have Claude pulled up. The first thing we want to do is we just want to use this chat window. And what we're going to do is we are going to ask Claude for some common tropes for the genre that we're going to choose. So first thing we're going to do is choose a genre, and then we're going to ask for tropes. In this case, we're going to use the genre of horror. So we're going to have a scary book that we're going to write just for fun today, and we're going to start with that. I would like to write a horror. We're going to say novello to keep this kind of short, and I'd like to know some common tropes in this genre. Can you share a list for me to review? And we want to give this an identity even here. We're going to say you're a world-class novel writer in the horror genre. All right, we'll start here. All right, this is great. Now we have a list of tropes, and I want to explain why this is important to start this way. Most people who fail to create good content with AI, they're not using chain of thought reasoning and chain of thought prompting. We're going to take this step by step in a practical way that actually improves the output. And when people use AI, they typically will just say, write me a horror novel. And it will come out super generic because you're not training, you're not instructing, you're not polishing that content. We teach the train, instruct, prompt method at AIWritingSchool.com, and that's what we're going to use here. We'll start training it on a particular voice in a moment, and we're going to refine the instruction as we go. So let's look at these different options for horror tropes. Another reason for choosing tropes here and why I recommend that if you're doing fiction writing is because we think in patterns and so does AI. If you can give it a pattern to follow, it now can niche down to, okay, we're in the horror genre and what trope, and then it will actually improve the output. So we have here 15 different options. Let's read through these. Isolated settings, I like that. Final girl survivor. Creepy children, not writing that. Haunted houses, unreliable narrators, body ores and transformation, ancient curses, supernatural entities, psychological breakdowns, found footage, forbidden knowledge, nightmare. Let's actually like this isolated settings. Can you provide different novel ideas for one? Okay, so we're gonna brainstorm with Claude here. The lighthouse at World's End, a lone lighthouse keeper on a remote island discovers an ancient otherworldly presence beneath the waves, begins to manipulate reality. Snowblind, the last space station, Desert's Mall, Ghost Town Frequency, a podcast that's investigating an abandoned mining town starts receiving strange radio transmissions that blur the line between past and present horrors. I like that. It's pretty interesting. Bunker 1971. A family taking shelter in a Cold War era bunker during a national emergency realizes they're not alone and their underground refuge may be a trap. I like this. All right. The Forgotten Peak, Adrift, Quarantine Ward C. Okay. I like a lot of these. I think we're going to go with Bunker 1971 because this actually just sparked an idea in my mind. I like number 7. What is some more information about this idea? We'll just start with that. I have an idea to make this even better, I think. But let's see. The setting. All right. Now we're helping Claude do what it needs to do, which is use chain of thought reasoning and prompting. Because one of the important things that I was going to get to, but Claude is doing for us here, is who are the characters? Do we want to manipulate those? Do we want to change them? The plot outline, which is very, very important. All of this is things to consider before you start actually writing a fiction novel. If you were a professional fiction writer, you would do all of this before you got started. You would have an idea of all these things. So let's read through this. Main character, or actually the setting, story takes place in Cold War era fallout shelter built in 1971. It's located beneath the suburban home, fully stocked and designed to sustain a family for months. Oh, I like this. This is actually maybe the idea. A modern family of 4 who inherit the house from a distant relative. The original bunker and their presence is gradually revealed through clues and possibly supernatural. I love this. This is great. That was what I was going to actually recommend. It's cool that I already came up with that, was that if it was a modern family who moves in and maybe there's a tornado that happens that forces them to go to the bunker, and then they realize that they have this family that's been maybe living in there for decades because they thought the Cold War era or the Cold War actually happened, which is there's a movie that exists. I think Brendan Fraser is in it, related to this. So the story begins with a national emergency, forcing the military to take refuge in the bunker. Initially, they're amazed by well-preserved shelter and its 1970s aesthetics. All right. Initially, they're amazed by so that's okay. I like that, but I don't love this story beginning with a national emergency, a natural disaster, but probably a local emergency, not a national emergency. That sort of makes it a little bit too unrealistic. As they explore the bunker, they discover disturbing clues about its past, a hidden room with evidence of occult rituals. I'm liking some of this, old recordings. The family starts experiencing intense nightmares and hallucinations. The original family conducted a ritual to protect themselves from nuclear annihilation. Yes, a way to escape or neutralize their grappling with dwindling supplies. Okay, I like some of this. Let's adjust this. I like the setting. Let's adjust the plot outline, specifically how the story begins. We're going to say, I would like to adjust how the story begins. Instead of a national emergency, let's make it a tornado in, let's see, a tornado in Georgia. Let's see that. Actually, let's do Charleston. Actually, I don't know if Charleston's let's do Georgia. In Georgia. Georgia, have the family go to the shelter for the first time and realize they're not alone. And then we're going to change this plot point to, instead of having a family who, instead of having supernatural elements, let's have them meet the family who has been in the bunker since 1971. Initially, let's have them meet the family and be surprised and shocked and lead up to it in a scary fashion. Let them slowly realize the family that has existed in the bunker is not a normal family. This is going to be a little weird here. They're actually cannibals, and the reason they've been able to get away with it is they lived in such a remote area of Georgia. They have survived on the stockpile of food in the bunker, but have been craving human flesh since the 70s. Okay. Given a lot of information here, this is super creepy. Kind of creeping myself out with this, but this is sort of, in this genre, we're taking something like the concept that's given here, a movie I've seen before that has Brendan Fraser in it. I can't remember the name of that movie. And then another movie I've seen before, which is Wrong Turn, and that's where the cannibalism comes in. And also there's another movie where they go on like a rafting trip, and basically a bunch of hillbillies are out there. I can't remember the name of that movie. So anyway, we're kind of taking all this into consideration. We're molding this into our own story and adding the human element in here. All right, I actually like the initial name of Bunker in 1971 instead of the Burrow, so we'll change that. Okay, hidden beneath the old farmhouse. The Coopers, a modern family of 4 who recently moved to the city. The Bradleys, the family has been living in the bunker since 1971. There we go. It's a warm Georgia evening when the tornado siren begins to wail. The Cooper family, still unfamiliar with their new home, panics until the father remembers the realtor mentioning an old storm shelter. I like that. They rush to find the entrance hidden under a heavy trap door in a basement. As they descend into the darkness, they're amazed to find not a simple cellar, but a fully equipped fallout shelter. The air is still. Decades-old equipment hums softly. Relief turns to unease as they realize the bunker seems lived in. Got chills just reading that there. Built up to an encounter, the Coopers explore the main room. Odd details, fresh food scraps in a waste bin, warm cups of coffee on the table, a calendar on the wall. Strange sounds echo deeper than the bunker. The youngest Cooper child swears she saw someone peeking around a corner. No one believes her. They discover a room filled with old newspaper headlines about missing persons from the surrounding area over the decades cover the walls. And then we're talking about the counter here. Suddenly, the lights flicker and go out. When they come back on, the Coopers find themselves surrounded by the Bradley family, pale, gaunt figures in outdated clothes with unsettling smiles and wild eyes. The Bradleys welcome them warmly, almost too enthusiastically. They explain they've been down here since 1971, waiting out what they believe was nuclear fallout. Their isolation has clearly affected their minds. As the tornado rages above, the Coopers realize with growing horror that the Bradleys have no intention of letting them leave. Casual comments about fresh meat, and finally, a real meal take on sinister meanings. The Coopers slowly piece together the awful reality. The Bradleys have been luring people into their bunker for decades, supplementing their canned goods with human flesh. The remote location and transient nature of the victims allowed them to avoid detection. Now trapped by the storm and outnumbered by this family of cannibals, the Coopers must find a way to survive the tornado above and the very human monsters below. And I like that it added this detail of like maybe it's more than one tornado. It's like a breakout of tornadoes. They have to decide, do we leave and go in the tornado? Do we stay and try to fight these people? The setup maintains the horror elements while grounding the story in a chilling, realistic scenario. And that's what I was looking for. It's like make this a little more realistic. All right, it's asking if we want to change anything with this. We want to change the title, keep Bunker 1971. I like the build up to the encounter, and that's very important. That's why we want to give it a genre and a trope to go with. Let's see here. I think I like this. I don't think I want to change anything here, so we're going to say I like this direction and would like to really keep the reader guessing about the original family's intentions, but hint and build up nicely, especially when they first meet. Let's have the Bradleys try to conceal their true intentions until their intentions and history is revealed in the final act of our novella. All right, here we go. All right, now it's going to break this into different acts. Okay. I like this interesting physical details that Coopers help them build. Okay, I'm liking this. Let's see here. I don't love that it has. It seems like it's lost the idea that the Bradleys have been in there since the Cold War. So we're going to remind it of that. I would like to keep the plot point that the Bradleys have lived in the bunker since a false alarm of nuclear fallout. Keep their initial interaction as the Bradleys acting astonished that they've met a modern family, but they're actually concealing their true story of why they live in the bunker. Okay? I like this. Okay, Bradley's asked numerous questions about the modern world, kind of faking it here. They express relief and joy at learning the world didn't end, but show hesitation about leaving their safe bunker. The Bradley's clothing, mannerisms, and knowledge appear frozen in the early 1970s, supporting their story, which would make sense for someone who is insane, essentially. Subtle hints of the truth, inconsistencies in the Bradley's knowledge, physical clues in the bunker, hidden modern items. I'm loving this. Behavioral red flags, extreme reluctance to discuss certain topics. Psychological indicators show signs of trauma or guilt that seem disproportionate to simply living in isolation. As the story progresses, the Coopers begin to question the Bradley story, noticing discrepancies and uncomfortable truths. Tensions rise as the Bradleys struggle to maintain their deception while their true nature and desires become harder to express. The revelation of Bradley's cannibalism and the real reason for the bunker existence becomes even more shocking against the backdrop of their elaborate lie. All right, so I like this a lot. And so now we are going to take all this information and we're going to build a book outline, actually a chapter by chapter outline. I like this direction. Let's draft a book outline for this. The chapter by chapter book outline for this. And we're going to give parameters. This is for the training instructions. We're going to give it the parameters of for this. I'm not really sure how long the novella is. We're going to say 25,000 word count novella. All right. I need to change that title still, which we can do at any point. Not a big deal. Storm, Descent, Bradley's Uneasy Shelter. A secretive locked area in the bunker. So now we're getting more and more specific plot points here. This is great. And so it's giving us the word count. It's showing us how it's breaking down this book into word count per chapter, which is what we wanted here. Okay, I would like you to create this as an artifact. Please also include all of the setting and character information. I'll use this for further prompting to write this book chapter by chapter. That's what we're going to do, is we're going to put this together in an artifact, which will just help us to basically have a guide for writing this book. So now we have the outline, the setting, the main characters. It's even giving us names now. And this is something we can refine. If we don't want the father to be an IT professional, maybe we want them to be a blue-collar worker, whatever we want to do. But I like that it does that. Recently relocated for work, freelance graphic designers, the mom, teenager, reluctant about the move, Max, curious and adventurous. I like the ages here. Robert Bradley, James Bradley in his 40s, born in the bunker, socially awkward. All right. Yeah, this is okay. Okay, yeah. So we're going to take this now, and we are going to copy the contents. We're also going to download this. That way, if we lose it at any point, and because we're going to start hitting our session limit for these chats, that's one problem with Claude. And one way to get around that is just start a new chat. So we're going to do that. If you have the project feature, one thing you could do is you could create a project, name this. We're going to call it Bunker 1971. And we can actually upload this content. That way it has context here. So we can upload this content. And now it has custom knowledge, project knowledge that we can write about. If you don't have this project feature, don't have Pro, we can just simply put this content in and remind it. You're a world-class horror writer, and we're going to give it an identity here. We're going to train it on content and give an identity by saying that writes in Stephen King style. Please review horror novella outline and information. And we're going to write this chapter by chapter and write a draft for chapter 1. And it's creating it as an artifact, which is what I recommend, because what we want to do is we want to have an artifact for every chapter. John Cooper squinted at the rearview mirror, his knuckles white on the steering wheel. The sky behind them had turned an ominous shade of green, like a bruise spreading across the heavens. He'd seen that color once before back in Kansas. It hadn't ended well. And this is Stephen King style. You see how simple that sentence is and how kind of punchy it is? That's definitely a style that Stephen King has. Her stolen expression, a stark contrast to her brother's wide-eyed excitement. At 10, Max found the whole situation thrilling. His face pressed against the windows. He watched the trees along the road bend at unnatural angles. Keep going here, keep going. All right, we're getting a little more excited. Everybody out, run for the house. All right, let's see. In Stephen King style, we have some cuss words here, some profanity, which is typical of his style. Then move through the house. Hurry down the stairs. John paused, running his hand along the wall. Instead of rough wood, he felt smooth metal. What the? He was cut off by a deafening crash, and the entire house seemed to shake. Go, go, go. At the bottom of the stairs, John's flashlight revealed a sight that for a moment made him forget the chaos above. They stood at the entrance what looked like an old fallout shelter, complete with bunk beds, storage containers, and a ham radio setup. As the storm raged overhead, the Cooper family huddled together in stunned silence, staring at the unexpected sanctuary. None of them noticed the fresh scuff marks on the floor or the empty food wrappers hastily stuffed behind a cabinet, and none of them heard the soft, shuffling footsteps approaching from the shadows beyond the flashlight's beam. All right, I like it. So we're going to keep this saved here, and we will write now chapter 2. Please write chapter 2. All right. I like this. Picking up one of the frames, a man with thick sideburns grinned back at her, his arm around a woman with a hairdo that defied gravity. Do you think they're still alive? I'm sure they're fine, honey. Shrimp finger is so clean you'd think that after 50 years. John nodded, the same thought niggling at the back of his mind. Everything was too well prepared, too recent. Hey, look at this, Max called out. He's standing in front of an open cabinet, his eyes wide with excitement. Nice. Okay, so here we go. So we now have 2 chapters. All that is needed now is to continue writing the content that we have in this pasted outline. We have all the information we need. All we have to do is go through each of these chapters and continue writing each of these. All right, if we want to change from this, all we have to do is change this outline. Go to the outline, update it, and then keep drafting as you go. Just use the artifact feature, and you will be able to write whatever type of book you want to write. The key is to start with this chain of thought prompting process that I've shown you in this video. Now, if you want to dive deeper into AI writing, whether it's Claude, ChatGPT, Perplexity, or any other AI tool, you can download my free AI writing cheat sheet. I will include that in the description of this video. Thanks so much for watching today. If you have any questions, want to see more videos of different types, please let me know in the comments. I love creating content like this for you as we learn how to handle the AI writing revolution.